listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location from Cinemajaw Studios in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is...
Rye, the movie guy, and sitting to my left is KP.
Hello.
This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, best worst. We've done a couple of these where we do best and worst on numerous categories.
I like it. Was that my best Cinemajaw intro or my worst, Ryan?
That was one of your worst.
Yeah. You guys got so enthusiastic about me coming with the energy last week.
They keep happening. That was 2 weeks ago, because last week you were up there again.
Yeah. Well, I figured I would really shoot it out of the cannon.
It was too much. This time it was eye-rolling, Matt.
Really? I was going for that let's get ready to rumble thing. Too much?
Too much.
You did see a monster truck rally this Sunday, though, so maybe that had something to do with it. Too much Monster Energy drink.
Bucket list item for me. I'm going to be completely honest. Always wanted to go. Lived up to my expectations. Monster Jam was fun.
Was that out at the Allstate Arena?
It was.
Okay.
Bigfoot, turns out, no longer a part of Monster Jam. Very disappointed, but I did see Gravedigger, and yeah, he did the backflip. Amazing.
I've been once before, many moons ago, but also at the Allstate. It was fun.
Yeah, lots of fun.
A lot of fireballs.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder how they drive those big trucks in such little doors.
It's amazing. They have to take the steering wheel off to get out.
It's like when you go to a car dealership.
Why are we talking?
How did you fit a Kia in here, sir?
Why are we talking about monster trucks?
Right.
We're here to talk about movies.
We're not doing best worst monster trucks, but it is Dan Aykroyd month.
People like this are a menace to decent society.
And we love Dan Aykroyd. Yeah. So this
Morning
is a
Zoo.
tough one. We're doing best worst Dan Aykroyd movies.
We are?
Right.
We're on a mission from God.
We also have a review of Spaceman, the new Netflix movie starring Adam Sandler.
The Sandman.
In honor of that, we're doing our best and worst Adam Sandler movies.
Should be interesting.
Very. And we have a review of Kung Fu Panda 4. So we're doing our best, worst animated film series.
Now, that one should be controversial, right? There's a lot of opinion, even on just this show, about animation. So looking forward to all these segments, right?
I am too. Well, it's Dan Aykroyd month, as we've already heard from Dan the Man. Let's kick it off with the Dan Aykroyd fact.
Yes. And so we're all in a great mood because it's a great time of year for cinema. The Oscars were just this past weekend. And I dug up something special. I found one that I found a Dan Aykroyd clip that is Oscars related in 1982.
82.
At the annual Oscar Awards, Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi were scheduled to present the first ever Best Visual Effects Award. However, Belushi had died literally weeks before the ceremony, and so Aykroyd went up there alone. But
sad.
It is very sad. That's very heartbreaking. And in an act of levity, which maybe was untasteful, I don't know, Aykroyd said from the podium, "My partner would have loved to have been here tonight to present this award, since he was a bit of a visual effect himself." And that lives forever in time.
No, that's there's nothing tasteless about that.
I agree.
That's a salute, because Belushi was like a human special effect. You know, that's a compliment.
I agree. I'm okay with that. And I'm shocked that in 1982 was the first time they were giving away best visual effects.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, though, when you think
I
about it.
would have thought my guess would have been like the late 70s. As soon as Star Wars
I was going to say New
Yeah.
Hope was 79, right? That's
77.
Yeah.
77.
So as soon as New Hope hit, you figure, all right, we got to do some awards for the special effects. And they were all starting to come at that point, right? I mean, Raiders is like 81.
Yeah.
Close Encounters.
That's the era.
So I'm shocked it went all the way to 82 until they were like, all right, we should start having a category for these movie wizards.
The Academy usually takes a couple years to catch up.
It does.
Yeah.
Do you know next year, not this one that we just went through, and we are recording this right before the Oscars.
Let's lift the kilt on that.
We can say congratulations to Oppenheimer, but not much else because I don't know what won at this point. But next year's Oscars, they're actually adding a new category for the first time since they added Best Animated Film.
Okay.
And they are going to do Best Casting Director. So honoring the ensemble of these movies.
They're not going to say best ensemble. They're going to give it to the casting director.
Well, I think it's best ensemble, but the Oscar statue will go to the casting director.
Well, that's cool. I mean, there are so many great casts and so many great casting directors. Like, yeah, this is fun. I support this.
I really like that, and we'll dig into this more, Jawheads, when we get to next year's Oscars, I'm sure. I'm just wondering, I know there's a business side to this a lot, right? So there's a lot of times it's like, well, I'm not going to do the movie unless so-and-so is in the film.
Right. You got De Niro?
Right.
I'm in.
That's what I was thinking, was like, this is just an award for most nepotism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how a lot of movies get made, though.
Oh, it really is.
Once you land one person, it kind of snowballs.
Yeah, that's why those A-listers are so important, because they get their name in there, and then other actors want to work with them. The movie gets greenlit, so a lot more goes into it than just the casting director.
And being the seasoned moviegoer I am, now I see that more on the screen. I'm like, how did this piece of shit get made? Oh, they casted him, and then she signed on, and then they signed on, and then boom, 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 and... Yeah, suddenly it's a movie.
It's really interesting. Really going on a little bit of a tangent here. I was reading Matthew McConaughey's memoir called Green Lights, and
he didn't call it All Right.
Green Lights. But he talks about he was getting casted in A Time to Kill. This was very early on in his film, and it was he wanted to go for the lawyer, which was one of the bigger roles, the second lead, and the casting director at that point. Said there's no way, you're just not big enough name. We need a big name in that second role. And then in the meantime, Sandra Bullock ended up having like her career blow up, and she was already signed on to the movie as like the third lead. And then because her name became so big, the studio felt they could go back to McConaughey, who wasn't that big, and put him in the second role. So there's all of that consideration going on, because they need X amount of like
star power in a vehicle.
It's like horsepower going out. Yeah, they're really thinking about all that stuff.
That's crazy. They've quantified it.
They really have.
Interesting.
Yes. All right. So we got our Dan Aykroyd fact. I think this is the best time to actually go. I think this was a very difficult decision too, to go best, worst Dan Aykroyd movies. I'm going to let Matt start this off, because you are a big Dan Aykroyd fan.
I am.
And I hope you didn't pick mine, because here is my evaluation of Dan Aykroyd. And I know we're celebrating the man, and I hope he's not listening. But I think Dan Aykroyd started off absolutely fantastic. He's got 10 great movies under his belt right in the beginning. And then pretty much all shit the rest of his career.
Oh,
come
you've
on,
got
Christmas
to be kidding
with
me.
The Cranks. That's not...
well done. Well done.
Here's
Christmas
the thing.
With the Cranks. Well done, Danny. Well done, Danny.
Nabs, unacceptable.
Even Dan thinks Christmas with the Cranks was a flop.
No, well...
Jamie Lee wasn't Christmas, and we love her.
Christmas with the Cranks notwithstanding, Dan transitioned from leading man, which, let's be honest, he only had a few shots at leading man. If you look at most of his filmography, he's almost always paired with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. I don't think he minds. I think he enjoys being the supporting actor and playing off other people. Like, so it's that isn't completely fair to say. He's had some wonderful late entries.
I wouldn't say so. You'd have to really sell me on his late entries. I was looking at like the last 20 years, and I'm like, Jesus.
Get the f*** out of here.
I think this last 20 years, I'm shocked he's still in movies at this
Gross
point.
Point Blank?
That was over 20 years ago.
Well, is it? Jeez. He pops up in Chuck and Larry. I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry.
That's what you're throwing out there?
Yeah, that's like supposed to be the...
It's a really funny part.
I mean, that's what we're talking about? The bar is that low that we're talking about Chuck and Larry?
That was a really funny moment in the movie.
Sure.
That's a homophobic movie.
Well, it's debatable. Debatable. It's debatable because, anyway, yeah, I'm not going to go there.
But the other thing I did want to say was that you had sent me a video on a text about Dan Aykroyd and this one particular movie.
Oh, yeah. Did you watch it?
And I watched the movie.
It's Nothing But Trouble.
Nothing But Trouble.
So that's a big thing that really derailed his career.
Yes. So in this video, this guy who's making this YouTube video actually dives into Dan Aykroyd's career at the beginning.
It's pretty interesting.
And it is really interesting because he does pick these weird projects.
He's a weirdo.
And he is a weirdo, and it makes sense. But then after watching that video, then our assignment was to do best, worst, and I really dug into his filmography. I mean, I looked at this thing for like almost an hour deciding on what I was going to go with. I couldn't believe the shit that's on his filmography. It's absolute crap.
I almost want to pull it up at this point, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and throw out my best.
All right,
are we
with
starting
your
with best? It's really a toss-up here for best. I'm going first, so I'm going to tell you that my best, honestly, Dan Aykroyd, I'm going Trading Places. But if I had to throw out another one, my second pick would obviously be The Great Outdoors as Roman. That slick New York City kind of like douchebag chewing gum. Like, do you ever see the characters on SNL that like these two people are assholes? Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's basically that character. And I guess that character is based on the Roman character. The Great Outdoors is a movie I've returned to again and again. I just watched it last summer. They do like at the campsite we go to in the Dells. They do an inflatable screen. And what movie were they showing?
Oh, nice.
The Great Outdoors.
Oh, at the Dells, that's absolutely gold.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was filmed there. So I love that movie. Keep coming back to it. And Dan Aykroyd is pivotal. I mean, obviously John Candy.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned my number one already. I have number one, Trading Places.
Yeah,
okay?
That's a great place to go.
Right. And here, this is the golden era of Dan Aykroyd. There's no arguing that.
No.
What I was saying and what I said was he's got about 10 that I looked at early on. I'm like, man, this guy was really rolling.
He was.
You're right. He always is working with someone. John Candy in The Great Outdoors. He goes to Trading Places, Eddie Murphy. These two, I think this is the absolute best Aykroyd has to offer because
I think Ghostbusters.
He plays that rich, uppity guy in Trading Places, Winthrop, so perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost hate him so much early on because all the reasons you hate the rich. And then later you want to cheer for him because he understands his career was
his
ruined.
Character arc.
Right. His career was ruined by...
And Jamie Lee Curtis.
By a stupid bet by the old guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so then you're cheering for him, and him and Eddie Murphy are great. He gets drunk. Santa Claus scene in Trading Places is absolutely outrageous. I was trying to pick a clip for this week's Jaw at the break, and I was trying to find something great with the Santa Claus scene, but a lot of it doesn't work audio-wise.
Right, because he goes against the gun. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So I was laughing, though, watching the clips for a good 15, 20 minutes of just watching Trading Places clips.
We got to do John Candy one month.
We should do him.
Yeah.
He's dead, so he's not going to be in any movies.
I know. We should do him anyway.
Yeah, good observation, KP. So, yes, I agree. I mean, I like Dan Aykroyd early on in his career.
I love him all around. Late career, early career, all his career.
I think you could go Ghostbusters, Trading Places, Great Outdoors. No argument if you're talking best of Dan Aykroyd. But then you get to the worst. Yeah. And man, like I said, just throw a dart at the board at this point and you're going to hit his worst because he's got so many bad ones.
Well, I disagree, but go on.
So I'll go first this time around.
Yeah.
And I watched this movie, and this was before I was a quote-unquote cinephile and really wanted to watch it all the way through. And I think I gave up on this movie, but it came out in 1994, so this is after his golden age.
Okay.
And
Driving Miss Daisy.
Driving Miss Daisy's pretty good, actually. He stars in there with, oh my goodness, I'm going to forget her name and I didn't write it down. You know who it is? It's Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh my God, really? South of Eden?
Yes. What do you think of this one?
Okay, yeah.
It's Exit to Eden.
Exit to Eden.
It's Exit to Eden. Came out in 1994. And the premise here is that there's like jewel thieves that go to like a hotel resort that ends up being like an S&M themed resort. And no one wants to see Dan Aykroyd and Rosie O'Donnell dressed in leather chaps and chains and who knows what.
Isn't there anything job-related that you should be doing at this particular moment?
Exactly.
Yeah, I would have gone with Nebs unacceptable.
I already used it. I already used that, and I used the Menace to Society, so I was like, I'm locked in.
Yeah, nobody rolled Rosie O'Donnell and Dan Aykroyd in bondage gear on their character sheet. Like that's a very specific flavor, man.
And I know they, like you said, he picks weird roles. I think the premise on paper and even rereading it here is actually kind of funny. The movie just didn't work for me at all. And I remember just not getting any of the humor. And it was one of those that I think, like many of Dan Aykroyd's later ones, are just lame humor movies that I just don't get the joke.
I am not going to sit here and defend Exit to Eden. I have seen it.
You got to pick a worst, and that was my worst. It's definitely on the bottom tier.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know if I hate it as much as you, but it's a fair pick. I'm going with a movie that I have been an apologist for in the past, and I do think it has its moments, but all in all, such a disappointment when you consider its predecessor. I'm going Ghostbusters 2.
Oh,
and here's why
it's a crapper.
Here's why I pick Ghostbusters 2 over Dan Aykroyd's other misses. Because Dan Aykroyd's other misses are less his fault. I mean, you can make a case for Nothing But Trouble, which we may or may not talk about a lot this month. But at least he took a big swing with Nothing But Trouble. Ghostbusters 2, man, it's Dan Aykroyd's fault. You know, I'm sorry, Dan, if you're listening, but you fucked up. I mean, it's not totally his fault. The studio came in and screwed him over on the script and changed a bunch of things and yada, yada, yada. But he still signed off. He still made the movie. He still gets a writer's credit on that movie. And it's a pile compared to the first one.
So I have only seen Ghostbusters 2 once, maybe twice tops.
Oh, I saw it like 4 or 5 times easily. Maybe more. 6, 7, 8.
Oh, geez. You
I was
were
a Ghostbusters fan.
You were a humongous Ghostbusters fan.
Yeah.
I never got into the Ghostbusters nearly as much as you did. Outside of like liking the first movie, which I thought like I liked it. That was about it. Can't get into number 2 at all.
Loved it. Sticker books, made a proton pack out of cereal boxes, the whole 9.
That was our picks for best, worst Dan Aykroyd movies. There's no arguing we picked 2 bad ones for worst. And we picked 2 good ones for the best.
I would agree.
I think we did pretty good there.
We did pretty good. It's obviously a matter of opinion. So let us know, JawHeads. How bad did we screw that one up? Love to hear from you. Speaking of screw-ups, that's terrible. I'm going with an Adam Sandler review. Adam Sandler, he's great. He just won the Mark Twain Award. He's on a bit of a roll lately. He's entered a new phase of his career, and I call it the Nicholas phase. He seems to be taking on different sorts of roles, like a talking lizard in last year's Leo, or a degenerate gambler in the Safdie's Uncut Gems. This year, together with Netflix, he brings Spaceman to the table, a quiet and cerebral, surrealist science fiction film. Can you hear me, Major Tom? Is this space oddity worth exploring, or should you contact ground control? Ryan and I took our protein pills and put our helmets on to find out.
On behalf of the Eurospace program, 189 days into your solo journey. Commander Prohatska, how are you feeling?
What I'm doing is for everyone back home, and that makes me very proud.
And your wife Lenka, of course. I'm sure she's looking forward to having you home safe and sound. He's not doing well. He misses his wife. And he shouldn't have left.
Sandler plays a cosmonaut named Jakob, who is 6 months into a year-long mission to explore a strange heavenly phenomenon that has haunted the skies for years, known as the Chopra Cloud. Though Jakob is in constant communication with Mission Control and even his wife, Lenka, played by Carey Mulligan, more on that in a bit, the isolation and pressures of the mission are clearly getting to him. Jakob is not sleeping, and when he does, he is visited by disturbing nightmares and visions of spiders crawling under his face. One day, he discovers a stowaway in the form of a giant spider-like creature, which he comes to name Hanush. This is where the movie kicks into high gear, as Jakob and his new companion explore his psyche, his regrets, his relationships, and his loneliness. Back on Earth, his wife Lenka is very pregnant and dealing with the fallout of an absent husband. All of this comes to a head by Act 3. This was one of those movies, Rye, that I began fairly late at night, fully expecting to watch in 2 sittings, but wound up watching it straight through. That may be the nicest thing I can say about it. While I think the acting was very good, especially Sandler and the wonderful voice work from Paul Dano as the space spider. For a movie about exploration with themes of vastness, the vastness of space and time and of drowning, the movie isn't very deep. Jakob is not at all that interesting. He's a typical driven A-type with a father who is, I guess, some sort of spy. And how he got a security clearance to become a cosmonaut is anyone's guess. There just isn't anything all that interesting about him to explore. The movie is also about the relationship between a man and his wife when so much time and space exists between them. And it works great as a sweet poem, I guess. I kept hoping that an epiphany would be around the next bend, and alas, the journey was the destination, and the journey was just okay. Another small gripe. They try to tack on this consumerism theme, which may have worked better if the film was set in America and not Czechoslovakia. It just came off as a bit sloppy and left dangling. I'm not sure what they were going for. This is a strange film, and while for that I do applaud it, the cast is fantastic, and while I found its conclusions a little bleak and boring, it wasn't by any means horrible. The fact is, you don't see a movie like this very much, so this is a slight recommend from Matt K.
Slight recommend.
Yeah.
That's good. This clearly is not a movie for everybody. And I find that interesting that it stars Adam Sandler and it's on Netflix. So it's going to draw a lot of eyeballs. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't make it through 20 minutes of this movie, 30 minutes tops, and they just end up turning it off thinking, what the hell is this, right? It's a very slow burn. It has themes also, all of the ones that you mentioned about loneliness, isolation. I also found a lot about regret in there.
Yeah.
And I totally dug this movie, Matt. This is one of those deals where it worked for me, but as a critic and doing a podcast trying to recommend a movie, I would tell most people it's not that great of a film, but it worked for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that you mentioned that you watched this at night and you thought you were going to watch it twice, but you did end up watching it once. That's good. I'll say this, Jawheads. I watched this early morning, big cup of coffee, and I ended up finding it almost meditative after a while.
Paul Dano's voice.
The score, and
the pace
and the themes. I mean, after a while, I was like, oh, you know what? God damn it, I'm totally digging this movie. Like, it took a while for me to actually realize that I was digging the movie. Like, I was like, this is slow. It's kind of boring. And then all of a sudden, it was like I was in a daze. I was in that cloud that they were exploring in space.
Trance.
And I was like, you know what? Shit, I'm digging what's going on here on the screen.
That's fair. That's actually fair.
It really
is sort
is.
of comforting and meditative and like turning on the white noise on your nightstand.
Exactly. And so what started to hit me, so this is how I started to feel. And then I started listening to more about what the characters were talking about. And I found it very interesting how he has all these regrets. Things didn't go right, obviously, with his father. And that is playing a large role in what he's trying to do. And that probably happens to all of us to some degree. What your parents do or don't do or how they treated you is how you somewhat make your direction in life. So that's affecting him. His relationship with his wife is affecting him. He has all these regrets. And then there's this kind of like moment where at the end of the day, the message I think is that's all in our head at the end of the day. It's our perception of that. But really, all of us are just living our lives. It doesn't matter the regrets. That's just stuck in our head. And if we could get around those regrets or get around being, angry at your parent for whatever the reason, we're all just living the life that you're supposed to live. But we all are the same. We get hung up on certain things and we can't get over this, or we get angry at a friend, or we break up with somebody, or we do whatever. And there's all these life-changing decisions because of that, and they stick in your head. And he's isolated and he has that. But talking to the spider seemed to get that like free mind of, you know what? Just live life. Just go back to your wife. Screw the regrets that you have. Just Do you love that person? Go back to that person. And I really took something away from the damn movie. I was sort of blown away by it in a way. Not to mention all of the beautiful, just sort of like sitting with the music and the visuals.
Well, I'm glad you found something to take away from this. I found the message kind of trite.
I know, you were saying that, but for me, it really worked. But I know when I watched it, I thought, I doubt most people are going to like really enjoy this.
Do you think maybe you're grasping at straws here?
Again, I think it just comes down to how you watch a movie and you experience art and whatever. Sometimes it speaks to you, sometimes it doesn't. And I know when I watch this movie, this is not something that's going to wash over everybody, that's going to be perfect. But I do think if you give this movie the right chance, again, this is a slow burn. So don't watch this having a few beers after a Friday rough week at work.
No, it's very much like, I'm sorry, Hal.
Right.
I can't do that, David.
Very slow.
Yeah, very slow.
And I love that Adam Sandler still dresses like Adam Sandler even when he's in space.
Yeah, well, that's how space people dress.
Right? I mean, he's still got his basketball shorts on. It's like Adam Sandler, that's Adam Sandler in space. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, okay. This bears discussion a little bit. The special effects, because this is a space movie. They're floating about. I thought the special effects were done very well. There's a few scenes where you can tell like maybe he's being pulled up by wires. But after like really the first act, that thought was completely lost. And I just totally believed that they were in space. I thought the visuals were really good. Janusz in particular, or is it Hanush?
Hanush, the spider.
Yeah. What a great character design. Because he's got lips.
And multiple eyes.
Well, obviously a spider you're going to expect to have multiple eyes.
Yeah, but a lot of eyes, right? Like Rose.
Yeah.
Wild.
Well, and again, but you don't expect a spider to have lips. So that kind of threw me off. And then he also has these like prehensile tentacles where fangs should be that he like reaches out and they're almost like arms. And he's got like a musculature instead of like a carapace or whatever you call it. And it was a cool character design.
It was.
He was almost like an ape spider.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great.
And would you say that I'm not 100% sure. Do you think that was practical or that was all?
I think it was a mix, but mostly digital.
Oh, you think it was mostly digital?
Mostly. In fact, I even noticed a couple of times where his relative size
changed a little bit.
Changed a little bit. Yeah. Because at first when you see him, he seems like a giant spider, like the size of like a table. And then like later he comes out and he's just a little larger than a human.
Right. But that could make sense too, because I believe obviously it's all in his head.
Yes.
With
Okay.
the spider,
I'm so glad
it doesn't matter.
All right. We're just going there.
Well, I mean, we might as well. I don't think people care that much. And I think if we're talking about a man lonely in space, there's ideas of, is this all in his head or it isn't? I don't think that's too much of a spoiler. Right?
No. Obviously, this is all in his head. Like he has this nightmare of a spider crawling out of his mouth, and the next day he sees Hanush.
This giant spider.
Yeah. It is a manifestation of his isolation and loneliness.
Right.
That helps him delve through his. And also, I'll go a step further. I believe he is dead. He's never coming. He's never going back to Earth.
Well, I thought for sure he was never going back to Earth either, but I didn't think that he was dead out in space. In the sense that this wasn't happening like after he had passed, and now we're seeing this vision of his
afterlife.
Yeah,
I believe that's what it is. It's all a metaphor for death.
So at the end of the movie, we're not going to get into super spoilers here, but the cloud that they're exploring is supposed to be sort of like the beginning and end of life. Like it's back to that kind of message of arrival, I guess, that things are circular. Everything starts and finishes at the same time.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot lately.
I know. Us humans can't grasp that. And a lot of great minds out there have talked about how we can't grasp that time isn't linear, right?
Right. Time all exists all at once.
Right.
Yeah.
And
just like space all exists all at once.
We've had this discussion when Interstellar came out. I remember we were talking about this, and I did a deep dive into it to try to get it, and I felt like defeated because I couldn't understand it. And I mean, I read, and I was like, damn it, I'm just too stupid to understand. But
that's okay, Ryan.
Right. The text was basically saying most humans we just can't comprehend that time isn't linear. It's already happened. It's all done, set.
Yeah.
But
well, and it fucks with our perception or at least our idea of what free will is,
right,
and
all that
choice
stuff.
and yada yada.
I love all those. You know,
Me too.
thinking about it.
So
I do like thinking about it. And
I do too.
this movie does explore some of those themes, not heavily.
No,
but it's there.
You're giving it a lot of credit.
But it's there. It's
it
there.
touches on it.
Well, I liked it.
I thought it was fine. Carey Mulligan. We have not discussed Carey Mulligan.
Right. She's shown mainly in flashbacks.
Mainly in flashbacks and cutaways, but she does a lot in this movie. She's the emotional anchor. She's our person on Earth. I like Carey Mulligan here quite a bit.
I did too.
This movie is not garbage. Go watch it. It's a little strange. It's very strange. Listen, if I'm saying it's strange, it's strange. I'm just not sure who it was made for. And if we're going to take a deep dive on somebody's psyche, can we get somebody more interesting? I'm not saying Adam Sandler. I'm saying the character. Like, he really wasn't all that fascinating.
That's where I think we disagree here. I found him fascinating because I think he was the regular man that has all of the regrets, that tried to, live his life, and he realized that he was getting pulled one way because he was trying to do things that is as a result of what happened with his dad.
And my mom never cut the crusts off my sandwiches.
and then he has these regrets that he has with his wife, and he definitely has intimate issues, and that's why he sort of runs away from things. Hence, he's in space away from his wife. Interesting topics, I think, to discuss, and I think that's how art works. Sometimes you watch it and you're like, oh, it's saying something to me. It might not say something to everybody, but this one said something to me and it worked enough. However, dare I say, looking at this painting, it's not a painting for everybody. Give it its best shot to do that, JawHeads. I would say watch it early in the morning when you have 2 hours and you want to sort of relax and watch the movie. I think that is probably your best bet. I wouldn't say tackle this. Matt tackled it at night, but he's a night owl. Tackle it early. Give it time to breathe.
It kept me interested. So how many Jaws are you giving this thing?
Whoa.
Oh, you want to do movie poster quotes first?
Yeah, and jaw-dropping moment. I did mention the jaw-dropping. This isn't a moment, but I did have to really stress how great the score was by Max Richter. It's a beautiful and serene score. It makes the movie in a lot of points, and especially when it goes for its like higher moments with the spider and Adam Sandler out into space. Cosmos going, the music playing.
I'm glad you brought up Cosmos because I half expected Neil deGrasse Tyson or to float into the
come on and say, well, there aren't really giant spiders.
Yeah, he always pops all my bubbles, man.
But I did find it, like I said, almost soothing to a large degree. This movie, so it worked for me.
Yeah, that's fair. My jaw-dropping moment is the discovery of Hanush. Like, how scared would you be if you just forget all the this is in his head stuff? If you were Adam Sandler's character and you opened that hatch and you saw a giant fucking spider staring at you with 8 eyes, how terrified would you be? They almost don't play it off as a horror moment enough, Such an alien creature in this moment. I thought it was done pretty well.
My poster quote: Spaceman explores the human mind and heart more than it does the cosmos.
Wow. That's a fair quote. I went the exact opposite tack that you went. Sandler versus space spiders.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but the Sandler fans are going to bite on that one.
So I'm strong on this one. I know this is going to shock a lot of people. I'm probably one of the highest critics on it. I'm 3.5 Jaws for Spaceman.
I'm going 2 Jaws on Spaceman. I liked it. I'm saying this is a bit middle of the road, but I can give it a maybe 2.25. Like, go ahead and see this one.
Yeah. Especially after our nice discussion here. Bump it up a quarter of a Jaw.
All right,
give it
fine.
the 2.25.
2.25. It's on Netflix. This is, you could do worse. You could do way worse.
Oh, 100%.
And I agree.
Do a lot worse.
It is a relaxing, meditative movie. So watch it and just chill.
Right?
Yeah. Kind of zen.
That brings us to our best, worst Adam Sandler movie. Tougher than the Aykroyd pick? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But also, quite literally, pretty close to Dan Aykroyd's filmography. Absolute gold early on. It's like, well, you could pick almost any one of those to be his best. And then it's like, holy crap, how did this guy keep working? Shit after shit after shit. He's got a lot of bad ones.
He does, but then lately he's had a resurgence.
And
right?
now he's had a resurgence.
And even during the shit years, he had a peppering of great movies.
He would always, you're right, he wouldn't go that long without somewhat of a hit, for sure. Like, you like Spanglish a lot. I don't doubt that's your best.
It's not my best.
So like that's
I
a
forgot
great
about that one.
That's a great pick where it's like, oh, he did crap, and then there's like, oh, but there's Spanglish, and then you're sort of happy, like, oh, the guy could still do something.
Oh, Meyerowitz stories,
right? And then it's like that crap, and then Meyerowitz stories. He gets another hit.
Uncut Gems,
right?
Yep.
So you let us off with Aykroyd. Why don't you lead us off with Sandler?
Oh, I'd be honored. Thank you. All right, my best Adam Sandler. Now, I think this is another one where I could go two. So I would either go Billy Madison if I was going pure uncut Sandler. Like if I wanted to just free base me some Adam Sandler, I'm going Billy Madison. But if I wanted to tone it down a little bit and say, all right, what is your actual favorite Sandler movie that you could return to again and again? I would shock you by saying 8 Crazy Nights, the animated film.
God.
The music, the jokes, the message of it. I think it's kind of an underrated holiday classic in a way. And I love me some 8 Crazy Nights.
Here, I don't know. Did Adam Sandler have a writing credit on 8 Crazy Nights as well? Can we throw that in the fish tank?
Throw it in the fish tank, because I don't know.
I don't know either, but for
I
some
think he
reason,
did at least the music.
In my mind, he had something to do more than just lend his voice to 8 Crazy Nights.
He's half the voices. He's got to be.
Yeah. So he must have wrote it also, right?
He may have. It's based on one of his songs. And
Right.
then he wrote the music in the movie, I'm pretty sure.
Well, we'll find out.
We will.
KP will find that out for us. So
Where do you go?
I saw 8 Crazy Nights one time. I enjoyed it. So I'm not giving
It's good.
I'm not giving you a hard time on it all.
It's a technical foul, by the way.
No, nowhere near my top of the list, though. You are 100% right with Billy Madison.
Oh, God, yeah.
If I'm going classic Sandler, I'm going Billy Madison. For me, that was always the movie that I thought, wow, this is just fantastic.
Stop looking
I
at me,
watched
Swan.
it so many times. Loved it. I also like, what was the other one? The golfer one. Happy Gilmore. Mm-hmm. There's some good ones in there, left and right. But then I saw him in Uncut Gems, and that's my pick for his absolute best. And this is where I think the Sandman, as we call him, could excel beyond anything that we had ever thought, because
We already kind of knew, right?
But you had an inkling, but you wanted to finally see it. He had done Punch Drunk Love with Paul Thomas Anderson.
And Spanglish.
He'd done Spanglish. So he had some movies that had a little bit more weight to them than your typical Adam Sandler movie, like Billy Madison. No
Right.
downer on Billy Madison, but it was just a Happy Madison production cornball.
I don't even think it was. That was pre
that. But
yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. It's
Yes, I
just
do.
a goofy comedy. And then all of a sudden Punch Drunk Love was like, oh my God, somebody's taking a shot on him, a shot with him, and he's living up to the hype, And then Meyerowitz's story and, Spanglish, good. And here comes Uncut Gems. He plays this degenerate gambler that cannot stop gambling. He's got massive bets, a parlay that's just absolutely hysterical in this film. And it all rests, I love that it rests on the opening tip of the basketball game is the first parlay. So it's like all this tension actually comes down to like who wins the tip, because if the tip isn't won by like the Timberwolves, he's already lost the whole parlay. It's all over. And it's like, oh my God, all right, now I need this and this and this to happen. And the comedy's there because it's Adam Sandler, but then we realized he can really act too. I mean, it was a tense movie by the Safdie brothers the way through. I mean, it was awesome. And then I was like, wow, Sandler should be in all of these kinds of movies. I like that he goes back and does the comedies, but damn it, go big. These are great. He could be, I think he got very comfortable on camera with that long career of his, that now, even though maybe he wasn't a trained, actor, he's so comfortable in his own skin that now he can really shine as a quote unquote actor, not just comedy anymore.
I think he
can
always had
literally,
that.
literally act, this guy.
I think he always had that. I think like he is probably one of the most I don't want to say underrated, but like his talent is one of the most what's the word I'm looking for? Like people don't
Appreciate.
Sleeper?
no, they don't expect much from Sandler. He's what's the word?
A sleeper.
No, when he's underestimated.
Estimated.
Yeah.
Underestimated.
He's underestimated. People just think like Sandler, this is gonna be shit. Like this guy can't do much. Like he's a cornball, goofball actor. And then he's always had that in his back pocket. He just brings it when he wants to bring it.
Interesting. But then that makes you almost upset when you go to see one of his crappers that he would go out with his buddies. When he signed that Netflix deal, I mean, these are some bad movies that
Some
I
of them
skipped.
are okay.
But I skipped some of those early ones, like the Ridiculous Six, The Cobbler. These are movies.
I didn't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
man.
these are movies we didn't talk about on Cinemajaw because they were just like, what is this? I mean, we can't even review
We
the
did
movie.
watch Shuby Halloween.
I mean, throw The Cobbler in the fish tank on how rotten it is. I guarantee you it's like less than 10%.
You know which one I have a guilty pleasure for? Not on my list here. Little Nicky.
Oh, Jesus.
I love that movie, man.
Well, let's talk our worst.
Yeah,
Adam
let's do it.
Sandlers,
Let's do it.
Because I actually had a tough time picking my worst.
So many to choose from.
No, contraire, I skipped a ton of the bad Adam
so you haven't
Sandlers.
seen
So I have not seen so many. When I went through the list, I was like, oh, yeah, missed it.
Pretty much anything with David Spade in it is almost guaranteed to not be good. Sorry, nothing on David, but
So I had to pick something that I wanted to watch. My criteria was this, that I was almost excited for an Adam Sandler, and then when I watched it, I was disappointed. And I ended up landing on 1999's Big Daddy.
oh, that's actually a pretty good one.
Again, I've missed a lot of his bad ones. So I went with Big Daddy.
It's kind of a heartwarming one. Yeah, you
But it's
really
not
screwed
good.
up here, Ryan.
It's not good.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, it is.
It's
actually,
not.
it's one of the better Adam Sandler movies.
So in this movie, he's in his early 30s. He gets dumped by his girlfriend, and then I think she dumps him because he's not
irresponsible.
responsible. Yeah, he's irresponsible. And then he ends up adopting like a 5-year-old boy. And the idea is
it's absolutely like cute as hell. It's heartwarming.
this is. You jackass. This was what I was about to say is that's what it was supposed to be. Heartwarming, like, oh, this is great.
And it worked.
And it totally didn't work. I mean, the movie was like complete garbage. It was
You're
like,
in the minority on that, Ryan.
this should have been good. This should have been good.
All right, KP,
So that's why.
throw it in the fish tank. What is the audience score on Big Daddy?
But through the critic score also, just throw it in there. See
All
the
right.
two. Because my take on this is rotten, but Sandler's got
I
a
actually don't
following.
think it is rotten.
But
All right, my worst Sandler. Same basic story here. I wanted to choose one I've actually seen, and I have skipped quite a few. And he's got a plethora of shitty entries to choose from. I've mentioned on the show that my brother is a huge Happy Madison Productions fan. He loves Sandler. There was a good string of years when every Sandler movie, not the Netflix years, prior to that, every Sandler movie he was watching. And one day I was like, I don't get it. Like, what are you seeing in this guy that I'm missing? Show me. So he sat me down in front of Don't Mess with the Zohan.
I would have got up and punched your brother in the face.
Oh my God, dude. I really wanted to give this one a fair shot. Like, maybe there is something I'm missing. And hey, maybe there is. I don't know.
This is what your brother shows you, and he watches it like probably with his arms crossed, like wait until he gets a load of this. I mean, this is a masterpiece.
I fell asleep on the couch. I mean, I was already kind of, we were drunk, you know. That's when you put on a movie like Don't Mess with the Zohan, because boy, oh boy, I don't get it. Like, I love me a screwball comedy. I really do. I'm not so uptight. I'm pretty loose. But this movie just sucked. It was bad. It wasn't funny. And there are more. There's that FBI informant one with David Spade. I watched that one on a plane or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, dude. Like when he swings and misses, it's a real whiff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But you know, I still love Sandler.
I do too. Don't get me wrong.
But boy, yeah, Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Jawheads, if we missed your favorite Adam Sandler or your worst Adam Sandler movie, just got comments on this best worst take that we have, write us. Feedback at cinemajaw.com. Our Twitter handle, or X, whatever it's called these days, is at Cinemajaw. Write us there as well. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have a review of Kung Fu Panda 4, plus our best worst animated film series, and some trivia. Stick with us. Let's all go to the lobby. Dan Aykroyd here month, and as you heard earlier in this episode, I am a huge fan of Trading Places. So as I was watching the clips, trying to pick a good one for you, I came across this one where Dan Aykroyd wakes up thinking that his entire misfortune was a dream until he sees Eddie Murphy standing in his bedroom.
It was a dream. I dreamt the whole thing. It was just a bad dream.
Good morning, sir. Merry Christmas.
Coleman, I've had the most absurd nightmare. I was poor and no one liked me. I lost my job, I lost my house. Penelope hated me. And it was all because of this terrible, awful Negro.
It was the Dukes. It was the Dukes.
You're a dead man, Valentine!
It was an experiment.
They used us as guinea pigs, man. Dukes used us as guinea pigs. See how our lives would turn out. They made a bet.
Afraid it's true, sir.
I believe him, Louie.
Dukes ruined my life over a bet. For how much? $1.
Sparkling drinks, dandy, 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 dandy.
And we're back on Cinemajaw. And before we get to our Kung Fu Panda 4, if you can believe that, Ryan, 4 review, we're going to go to the fish tank because I believe we threw a few of those fishy flakes in for KP to swim on up and nibble on.
Wait a moment! It's fish! Isn't it?
DC! Wake up! Wake up! No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, there's some fish folk.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Okay, it is so good to be out already. I begrudge, and I think you guys did this to me on purpose because I feel like I would have way more to say about Kung Fu Panda than I would about, I actually have a lot to say about Adam Sandler and medium things to say about Dan Aykroyd, but that's besides the point. One thing that I do have a lot to say, and this is crossing over into my realm of animation very well, did Adam Sandler have a writing credit for 8 Crazy Nights? Obviously, he's like half the cast. He's Whitey, Eleanor, whoever the main character is that we don't remember the name of.
Sandler.
As well as Matt was right, all songs. Adam Sandler had a hand in writing all of those. As well as this being a Happy Madison production, so he is the producer on this film. As well as being the only Meatball Productions, which is Adam Sandler's animation production studio.
Interesting.
He did also have a writing credit. So basically, this is just like the dude. I think the only thing he did not do was touch pen to paper.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess that too. That's a good point. I'm not being fair to him.
It's a good movie.
It is.
Yeah. And he basically, the guy's talented.
Oh, for sure.
You don't win the Mark Twain Award if you're not talented.
He's very talented. And I love his songs. The Hanukkah song is an absolute classic. And remember, he released that comedy album with the Hanukkah song on there.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that
the whole album was
it's
incredible.
classic.
So, yes, I'm not denying his talent. He's awesome.
Good.
Maybe we can deny a little bit of his talent because our next question is about the cobbler, and it was what was the rotten rating on the cobbler?
My guess was less than 10%.
Anything, Matt?
5.
I don't know what we do with this. I think technically Ryan is wrong, but by the actual smallest margin possible, because it is exactly 10%. To Adam's credit, though, You guys know me. I always try to go above and beyond, spice up what I can. And it was very difficult to find critic reviews. And a huge part of this is that so few people have seen this movie. They took the Rye the Movie Guy route and we're just like, this is not, I'm not even going to touch this one.
Didn't even know it
10-foot pole.
existed. Yeah.
So maybe there's just not enough audience base. Maybe that's going to be our
we're going to break
retro
this
review.
film out.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of his first or second ones on the Netflix deal, and everybody just stayed away. It was just
garbage.
Dog
but
crap.
then Murder Mystery. Or what was it called? Was
it was Murder Mystery.
Yeah.
And Murder Mystery, too, which you guys
Those
were
are pretty good.
relatively decent.
That's his sweet spot. That's where he should go for comedy and then do drama with, the big boys.
Yeah.
But don't go scooping down into that cobbler territory. And
Grown-Ups, too.
Yeah.
You
that
didn't
crap.
love it?
Nobody wants that.
I actually liked Hubie Halloween.
Hubie Halloween was not bad. We reviewed it on the show. It was decent.
Decent.
Ray
Liotta's second to last credit.
Our last one in here, How Fresh is Big Daddy? This one's going to be polarizing.
Right.
Because there is two answers, and I did get both of them, and they are very, very different.
So obviously the critics score way low. The audience love it because you could see that Matt loved this movie.
Yeah. So that means it's good.
And you could see that
critics get it wrong sometimes. It's
I would
okay.
say it's bad. I would say the critics score it's got to be less than 60%. I'll put it at even less than 50. I'll put it at like 45%.
Any guess on audience, Matt?
I'd go higher than 75.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, I'm going to hedge my bet a little bit and say 78.
Both of you are a little optimistic. It's 39 critics, so
Wow.
way worse than Ryan
Wow,
was.
39. It's a crapper.
But 74 audience.
What do you mean optimistic? I said 75.
You
I was
said
off by
over.
1.
You said 78.
You did.
We'll
Yeah, but I'm
rewind
in
the
the
tape.
ballpark there.
I will say, and admittedly, this film came out in 1999.
Great year for movies.
I was 6 years old that year. I actually do think I'm net positive on this film too. There, like, there's an iconic scene where his foot has the really bad frostbite, and they're jabbing at it. There's the water fountain where he goes, "That's a Hawaiian punch," and I do think it's kind of charming.
Yeah, the movie's good. Scuba Steve. Charming. Charming is the right word.
It's no anger management. Okay.
There we go.
Oh, that's another great one.
No, it's not.
it's a
I
bad one
use
also.
that as it's not awful. What are you?
I like me some anger management.
All right. Well, we're still in the fish tank. Next week on the show, 2 big reviews.
Oh.
One of them is called Love Lies Bleeding. Jawheads, we just came from this movie. We're not reviewing it this week, but KP, Matt, and I just walked out of the theater, and now we're in the studio after seeing it. So we did not rehearse this.
Hot take.
We did not rehearse this. Let's do this as a teaser to the Jawheads next week. You can all say one word review of the movie, and we're going to all say it at the same time.
Oh, geez.
Think of the
God.
word. Okay? Think of the word. We are also next week, Jawheads, going to review Damsel, which is on Netflix with Millie Bobby Brown. So we have that going.
Okay, one word.
So one word on Love Lies Bleeding.
The new A24 film starring Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
Let's lay that out there. And Ed Harris.
Yes.
All right. And Jenna Malone.
All right. On 3, everybody say their word.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Anxiety.
Next week, we are going to be reviewing Love, Lies, and Bleeding.
I don't even know what your twos were.
I didn't either.
I
Yeah.
heard Ryan's.
I
but
didn't.
What you said, I could anything. And if Jawheads, you could pick out what any of us said, good on you.
I'm sure they can. They can pause and rewind.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll isolate each track. Hit us up. Subscribe to Patreon to hear these tracks isolated to know what the hell we said.
Good stuff. All right. Jump back in there, KP.
Can do.
It is time to take the next step on your journey.
I'm not going to be the dragon warrior anymore?
You will advance to spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace.
Inner peace. Inner peace.
Keep your surf off my turf!
Dinner, please. Dinner with peas in a sesame soy glaze. This is not working at all.
That clip is from the trailer for Kung Fu Panda 4. The Kung Fu Panda series got started in 2008, revolving around Po, the panda, who becomes the Dragon Warrior. The film sported a wonderful voice cast. Jack Black, as the lead, is one of the best and really makes the character of Po work. But surrounding him were the likes of Dustin Hoffman, Angelina Jolie, Seth Rogen, Lucy Liu, David Cross, and even Jackie Chan. The smashing success of the first film led to a full series. In this fourth installment, I noticed that the Furious Five, Poe's gang of warriors, were not involved at all. I was worried. However, the script goes in a slightly new direction, and I did not end up missing them as much as I thought. This time around, Poe is being conned by a fox named Zen at the start of the film, but soon he must work with Zen to find the chameleon who is trying to open the spirit world so that she can learn all the kung fu and all the battle moves of the great warriors. The chameleon would then become the ultimate warrior. Thus, Poe and Zen are on a road trip together in a sense. They are away from the kingdom that we know from the previous films. What makes the Panda series work so well is the writing. In this one, I did not find the jokes to work nearly as well as they had in earlier films, but the kids in the theater seem to be laughing. Secondly, the Panda series has great voice work. Number 4 does as well. Co-starring with Jack Black is Awkwafina as the fox. Has Hollywood made a rule that Awkwafina must be in every animated film going forward? My God. Also, we have Dustin Hoffman returning, and get this, Matt, playing the chameleon is none other than Viola Davis. She is a treat. Then we have the animation. In regards to the fighting scenes, I have to say that number 4 is on par or maybe even better than the other 3 in this department. Fast-paced, exciting, and just all-around fun. The character of the chameleon, a shapeshifter, was fully realized. Loved the look, the style, the animation of her. This might not be my favorite Panda film, but I still had fun with it, and I will be saying that's amazing when it comes to the number 4 in the series. That's a pretty big compliment because these things usually run stale. If you have kids, this is an easy recommend. Kung Fu Panda 4 is another winner. Just not as big a winner as maybe some of the others.
Wow. Did you like this movie better this time or the first time you watched it when it was called Zootopia?
No,
exact same plot, Ryan.
I know that's just because of the fox.
Is there a fox? Wait, and is there a shapeshifter who is pretending to be somebody else?
When was that in Zootopia?
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about.
No, the mayor in Zootopia
is a shapeshifter.
She's
but
like
it's not
a chameleon.
Is it a chameleon?
I'm pretty sure.
I think she's just a corrupt politician, from what I remember.
I know,
and she gives the animals like the rage stuff.
There's some kind of something hidden going on.
And I'll say this: let's stop talking about Zootopia. Let's talk about the panda. I know you're not big on this series. I don't know if you've seen any of them.
I saw the first one.
I know, KP, you're a fan of Kung Fu Panda. You like number 2 quite a bit.
Kicks ass.
I've seen all 3, and the only one that I have on Letterboxd, which would have had some type of a review, was number 3. And I had just such a short little written review. I couldn't remember much of it. If you asked me what the plots were of 1, 2, and 3, I'm not that big of a Panda fan. I'm not going to go out there and lie. I know I enjoy them, though. When I look back and I'm finally like, yeah, I like the Panda. That's why I went and even checked this one out. All right, let's have some fun with it. And the animation style was great. The writing's good enough this time. And damn it if Jack Black isn't one of the best voice actors. He's outstanding.
I'm looking forward to him as Claptrap.
That's somebody, not John Candy. We got to have Jack Black. He's like one of the most supremely likable human beings ever.
He's high on my list.
We should have him on the jaw. Can you reach out, Matt?
Yeah, I'll get on that. Love me some Jack Black. He's the kind of guy that would probably do it too, you know?
Yeah, but Awkwafina is in literally...
rolling my eyes at this point.
Literally every animated film. So I looked it up. She's been in 8 animated movies in the last 7 years. So there's at least one a year, and it's different series. This isn't like one series that she's in. It's The Little Mermaid she was in.
Right.
You know, she was in...
You love The Little Mermaid.
I did like The Little Mermaid. She was just in Migration that came out last year.
Wow, I didn't even know that. Okay.
And then she was in The Last Dragon, or what was the movie?
Raya.
Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I like that
and
one.
she's in numerous. I'm looking at them like, my God. And we've commented before on this that once everybody realized she had, like, you know, that some people to have a voice very much like Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen's voice is like, we respond to it very much like Awkwafina. You hear her voice and you respond to it, and so they're putting her in every animated film. I hope she's getting a good paycheck for all this.
I'm sure she is. Good for her. You know what?
I agree. At the end of the day, I actually still liked it. As much as I was hard on it because I'm, Jesus, man, are they using Awkwafina every single time? Still ended up being enjoyable. So I was okay with it.
She's good. She's got talent.
Yes.
Maybe a little overused.
What I will say for my jaw-dropping moment and the other animated voice comes into play here is the chameleon in general. The first time we see her shapeshift would be my jaw-dropping moment, and she turns into one of the elephant warrior. So she's getting all the great powers.
Not sure that's how chameleons work, but okay.
Yeah, but
just go with it.
All right, Matt, this is an animated film. It's a kids movie. So
right,
yes,
but they're animals, right?
I know, but the idea is, you got the idea. The chameleon can change colors.
They can just change shape now?
In this particular universe, yes, they can change shape.
Okay.
Right? This is like asking me why Ant-Man is still alive in after a bomb dropped on him and he has no superpowers. and you're giving me a hard time, you know? A bomb.
But you would flip your lid over something like that. I can't say that pandas shouldn't be able to do kung fu.
But we're talking about an animated movie here. So the character changes shapes and it changes into the warriors of past, and we get the elephant warrior. And it was pretty trippy, there's no doubt. So that worked pretty well. As far as the movie poster quote, the panda proves strong enough on his own. He doesn't have his Furious 5 this time. And I will say, because
it's a little esoteric of a quote there.
One cheap shot that I have here that I will take at it is at the end of the movie, playing over the credits, is the Furious 5 come out. No voice work. It's all because there's music playing and the Furious 5 are fighting. And I thought, like, well, this is sort of a cheap thing because I think they can use some of these clips to show, you know, the Furious 5, and it makes it look like, oh, well, they're involved in the movie in some degree. But none of the voice actors of the Furious 5 are in the movie. It's just, you know, over the credits kind of thing.
That's what you can do in animation.
But for a number 4, I'm still giving this 2.5 Jaws. I am recommending, especially if you have kids, it's a no-brainer. Go out there and see it. That brings us to best worst animated film series, Matt.
One of the best pre-show debates we've had in quite some time, which I do want to get back to. But I will dive in. Ryan, head first with and we should mention, non-Toy Story.
Yes. We felt if we included Toy Story, it's too easy. We would just say Toy Story is the best.
Yeah. And usually to give a little behind the scenes look, I like to argue with Ryan just for the sake of arguing with Ryan. But that one, you were right. Yeah, Toy Story is probably the best one. I'm going to go with the Lego movies. Now, there are 3 main Lego movies, and then we have the Lego Batman series.
I believe there's only 2 main Lego movies, but...
Okay, but then we have the Batman, which leads perfectly into my debate with KP over Puss in Boots.
This does, because it invalidates your point in the debate.
Yeah, but when it's when it supports my argument, it's fair. When it supports your argument, I'm going to cut it down to size.
Okay, so and just for context, the debate we were having is, does Puss in Boots count as a Shrek film? And I said yes, without question.
Right, and I would say no, because is Shrek in it? Wild Side is in the Batman movie.
My point is no. Like, if that counts,
it counts.
Then Puss in Boots has to count.
No. Here's the reason. And we also talked about
judge and jury on
We
this
also
one.
talked about Rogue One, right? Rogue One.
That was my point. Is that if Puss in Boots is not a Shrek film, then Rogue One, which Matt loves, can't be a Star Wars
Except
film.
the fact is, the movie is called Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
What
It's not called
What
Puss in Boots: A
franchise-
Shrek Story.
What franchise does Puss in Boots come from?
Shrek.
Is the MCU?
Although
not-
technically, Puss in Boots is his own character from long before Shrek was even a twinkle in his over
that's
daddy's
the whole
eye.
point of Shrek.
No, Puss in Boots actually predates Shrek. It's an old.
That's the whole point of Shrek. So does the Gingerbread Man.
Right,
So
exactly.
does Snow White. So does Little Red Riding Hood. So does like
is it-
80% of that cast. So does the Magic Mirror.
Right. So is it a Shrek movie? I don't know. It's a Puss in Boots movie.
Then, okay, let's turn this on its head. Shrek 2 is actually a Puss in Boots movie, and we just call it the Puss in Boots series because
Well, now
Puss in
there is a
Boots is in
Puss in-
Shrek 2.
All right, time for my judgment. I'm going with KP on this one. It's a
of
slam
course you
dunk. No, but to be honest, before you actually picked the Lego movie as your pick for best, I would have been a tougher decision for me to make. But you're actually, by picking the Lego movie and including Batman in that list, you're more or less giving a point to KP. This is literally the same thing.
No, it's not.
Yes, the Batman movie is.
It's the same thing as Rogue One. Rogue One is a Star Wars movie.
But Batman is the Batman Lego movie is not a continuation
the first word in
of the Lego movie
Yes, it is.
1 and 2. No, it's not.
Lego Batman.
No, it's an offshoot of it, which is okay, and I'm allowing it. But I would definitely then at that point also allow Puss in Boots with Shrek.
And visually, can you tell me what is difference between Puss in Boots and Shrek? Visually.
I will tell you this: way less green.
All right. And if that's the only thing, like art style, the same, writing style,
Shrek
close
ain't in
enough
it.
to the same, where it's like, yeah, it 100% is. You're out of your mind.
It's not a Shrek movie.
Ryan voted.
Yep. My number one pick for best animated series is a DreamWorks animated series, and it is How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah,
I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah. So predictable.
So predictable.
Say
right?
his name. Say his name.
Yeah,
I
just
love
say it.
hearing you say his name.
All right, so you got Hiccup. And you got Toothless, the dragon. And I think one of the things I love about it is that they've aged the characters, they mature into the roles, which we do not see. And you'd have to.
No Kung Fu Pandas.
Like Kung Fu Panda, Poe is the same exact age at all time. There's no aging. Toy Story, obviously they're toys. There's no aging.
Andy ages.
Andy ages. But literally in How to Train Your Dragon, the characters age, and the films actually get a little bit darker and more mature themselves, which is kind of different for an animated movie.
It's like a Harry Potter.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Similar to that. So I enjoyed that, and I just love the medieval times. I love the dragons.
I love medieval times too.
Right?
Let's go.
The Scottish accents going on over
I was
there.
talking about the restaurant.
Animation is great. I remember seeing How to Train Your Dragon 3 in 3D and like being blown away as what like my favorite 3D movie for a long time. Like visuals were great. If you haven't seen the How to Train Your Dragon series, well worth a spin.
Yeah, do yourselves a favor. I agree. That is a fantastic pick, Ryan. No arguments for me whatsoever.
All right, so now we got our worst, Matt. And this was kind of tricky because where I found it tricky is if the series was actually good enough to make it to 3 films, it must have done something semi-good, and now we're picking the worst of those.
Well, same could be said for all of these, right? I would go with my worst my worst is, this is a little meta, so you have to bear with me. Non-Pixar Disney sequels. For example, Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time. That is a real movie. There's also like these direct to VHS. A lot of these came out in the 90s, like Little Mermaid 2.
So wait, you don't have an actual series picked. You're just picking...
I'm picking non-Pixar Disney sequels.
Jesus Mary. Okay.
No, that is a thing. That's like a category of film.
Lion King 1.5 is actually awesome, though.
No.
Also, Lion King 2 is.
Bite your tongue.
Lion King 2 is actually awesome.
No, it's not. Nobody ever said that ever.
That's not true. There's a handful of millennials who are singing the He Lives in You song right now.
All right. American... Oh, actually, this isn't Disney, so it's a terrible example. I was going to say American Tail 2. But all the Disney sequels Wait, are you about to tell me American
Fievel
Tail
Goes West is awesome. Fievel Goes West is awesome.
Fievel Goes West isn't the worst thing, but I'm not talking about Fievel Goes West. I'm talking about non-Pixar Disney sequels.
Okay.
Because they made them for a long, long time on their classics like Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time. Travesty. That shouldn't exist, okay? These are the worst of the worst. Yes.
Complete cash grabs.
Yeah. They made one good movie in the series, and then they just were like, well, let's just get some more money.
Yeah.
They bowed out in every department.
I'll give it to you. Not exactly what I was looking for. I really wanted you to pick just a series in general. I thought you were probably going to go Cars because I thought maybe you turned on Cars, but you like Cars.
I do like Cars.
You do. Cars was in the running for me. Cars, it was right up there. It was number 2 for me. But I ended up landing on Madagascar as my worst. You got to pick a film series that went through.
I would have gone Ice Age over Madagascar.
Ice Age was also in the run. Those were the 3. I had Ice Age, Madagascar, and Cars.
Okay.
And I ended up landing on Madagascar. And the reason why I did is I think the premise for Madagascar and the voice work that was done on Madagascar should have resulted in better movies. I should have liked them as much as I like Kung Fu Panda, and I don't like them as much. You had Chris Rock in there, Ben Stiller in there, and the idea that these animals were in a zoo and didn't realize how quote-unquote good they had it or, as easy as their life was, and they get out into the world and all hell breaks loose. I remember watching the first one thinking, like, that was great, but it didn't need a sequel. And then 2, 3, I just didn't get into it. KP's giving me the eyes here.
3 is awesome. 2, I will give you, is horrible.
Afro Circus.
You're leaving out Sacha Baron Cohen is in these films as King Julian.
I think they should have been better.
Andy Richter is Momo. Madagascar, I will give you 2 is bad. 2 is very, very bad. ScarJo gets 3 is so fun.
The Madagascar films are pretty good, actually.
Really? I got to rewatch 3. I remember watching and just being disappointed after 1.
They even made a series. It was like a TV show.
It was the King Julian series.
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
I go Madagascar for the worst.
No, you went Ice Age, didn't you?
No, that was in the running, though. I want Madagascar.
Ice Age is also a little unfair because Ice Age, the first one is really good.
The first one's great.
The other ones are not.
I agree. And there's like 4 Ice Age, I believe.
And there's a bunch of shorts,
Oh,
too.
yeah, shorts and other stuff. But I'm talking, it's always odd. I've talked about this before, too. For me to, no kids, I need to see the movie and I don't catch it at a screening. And it's like, now what do? Don't review it. I want to go see the movie. I still go see, and I went and I saw Ice Age 4, and I was like, what am I doing here?
Yeah. Ray Romano as a woolly mammoth.
Really? Do I need to see Ice Age 4? I should have skipped it. I should have stayed home.
We got to get John Leguizamo some kind of bankroll. He hasn't been up to much lately since Chef. Give the guy a paycheck.
He popped up as a villain in an action movie lately. What was that? He was in that Bad Santa movie with the guy from Stranger Things. Help me out here, Ryan.
David Arbor?
Yeah. What was that called? Silent Night?
Violent Night?
Violent Night.
Silent Night's the one coming out this year.
Violent Night was fun. And John Leguizamo, great as the villain.
He was. I say we play some trivia.
Let's do it.
I didn't mention it at the top of the show. In honor of Poe and Kung Fu Panda 4, we are playing Jack Black movie trivia. Are you ready, Matt, for Jack Black?
I was born ready.
I mean, you know Jack Black pretty well.
Yeah.
Matt needs 3 or more to be
Blackjack Gum.
Not stumped. Here we go. Question number 1. Are you ready? Jack Black was in year 1 as Zed. Who was his main co-star, O, in the film?
I have no idea.
Year 1. Absolute comedy classic.
I actually like this movie a little bit, too, to be honest.
Jack Black and who? Will Ferrell?
Yeah. No clue.
Looking for Michael Cera.
Okay.
Michael Cera. 0 for 1, Matt. Question 2. Name the 2011 movie Jack Black made with Matthew McConaughey. 2011. So we're going back some time.
Yeah, but not that far.
But Matthew McConaughey and Jack Black. The only time they worked together.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one with Shirley MacLaine, where Jack Black plays I can't. McConaughey's a lawyer, and one of Black may or may not be involved with killing Shirley MacLaine's character. Shit, I loved this movie. It was so good. What was the name of it?
It was a great one.
Yeah, it was.
Matthew McConaughey, Jack Black, Shirley
Can you give
MacLaine.
me a hint? Just steer me in a subtle direction.
It's a one name title, and it's Jack Black's character's name.
Oh, that's going to be so hard. And it's a true story, too, right?
It was right when McConaughey was turning his career around.
Debatable. I mean, it was part of the reconnaissance, right? I mean, Joe, what was that? What was that? Where with the chicken leg? What was that one? Killer Joe. Yeah. I
Need a
don't
guess here. Jack
I
Black
know
and
the
Matthew
movie.
McConaughey.
I know the
in.
movie, and I don't remember the name of it.
We're looking for Bernie.
Bernie. Such a great movie.
That's a good one.
I forgot all about that.
I did
Bernie's
too.
good. Bernie's good.
Yeah.
Matt is
great performances in that movie.
Yeah, and that's Jack Black at one of his best. Like
everyone in that cast
Very
is
nebbish and not bombastic like we expect.
Yeah.
Well, he's a little bombastic.
He's
but
weird. He's,
Yeah, but he's weird.
eccentric,
Yeah.
but not bombastic.
Yeah. 0 for 2 for Matt K. Question 3. Jack Black was in Peter Jackson's King Kong in 2005.
He was.
Name 2 other actors in that movie.
Adrian Brody and this is where it gets difficult. Naomi Watts.
That is correct. You are on the board. We also would have accepted Andy Serkis, who played King Kong.
Oh, yeah.
Colin Hanks was in it, Jamie Bell, and Kyle Chandler, among others. Matt has one right. He needs these next 2. Matt, question 4. Jack Black played Wolfman Jack, the famous radio DJ, in what musical biopic?
Walk the Line.
We were looking for Weird, the Al Yankovic story. You still haven't seen it.
Still haven't caught up with it.
I was hoping you did.
Freaking Roku, man. So it's like, who watches Roku anymore?
Last question, Matt. Jack Black made one movie with Steve Martin and Owen Wilson. It came out in 2011, and I would like you to name that movie.
Why are you stuck on 2011?
I don't know. He had a good year in 2011. I mean, it's Steve Martin and Jack Black finally working together.
But who's the finally on? Is it on Steve Martin or is it on Jack Black?
Good question.
Okay.
What do you got here?
Steve Martin, Jack Black, and who?
Owen Wilson.
2011.
Correct. What do you got?
Nothing.
People like this are a menace to decent society.
That's you, Matt.
Absolutely. You totally blew this one. We were looking for The Big Year.
What?
Oh. That I did know that. The Bird movie.
The Bird movie. Yeah, they're bird watchers.
Is that the one with Sandra Bullock where she
They're
has to
bird
wrap the thing
watchers.
around her
No,
face?
That's actually pretty
Bird
fun. I like
Box.
that movie.
But Bird Watcher, The Big Year, where they're bird watchers. Decent.
I thought it would have been, what's the Steve Martin ones where he's like got the big family and they go camping? That's what I thought it would have been.
Oh, is that the one with Nathan Lane where they are and what's his name? Robin Williams, where they're a couple and they have to explain to their
Robin Williams was gone way before 2011.
Oh, that's Birdcage.
Birdcage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shame, Matt. You were
was-
stumped this week.
Yeah,
you
I
were
was.
stumped.
It's not hard, right? I did good though. 2 weeks in a row, I wasn't stumped.
Hey, brings us to the end of a great jaw.
How about it?
Best worst. This was a best.
I agree.
First and foremost, we got to thank our writer, our producer, KP.
Oh, of course. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, and I cannot wait to talk about Love, Lies, and Bleeding. And we should also plug, we've been, follow us on Instagram at Cinemajaw. We've been getting into doing different reels. We're going to have some good stuff. We've already had a few movie poster quotes and the like.
Keeping it real.
I agree. I don't like the cameras all around us, but we're making do.
As we do.
We also got to thank the Patreons. Thanks for supporting the show. It means the world to us.
Big thank you.
Yes. We dropped a new movie roundup podcast, so you can check out 3 new reviews there.
We should explain what that is.
The movie roundup podcast is movies that we see that we don't get to in the main podcast. We can review sort of quickly, on point, but it gives you recommendations a little bit different than the normal
Right.
main
It's a
podcast.
sidecar.
Right.
Yeah. You know how like you order a whiskey and you want like a little sidecar of beer?
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy, actually.
Yeah.
So that's just one extra. We're still working on some other stuff. Not
We
a
are.
big reveal yet because meetings can't get made as I'm knocking these 2 heads together like the 3 Stooges.
We've said it before. Ryan's the reliable one. Me and Matt are behind this.
We will get there, but
we will.
More stuff coming on. So, and the main thing is if you're supporting the show, it really does mean everything to us.
Yes,
So
thank you.
Go on to patreon.com/Cinemajaw. Join us there. The last place you can help us out on is just by leaving us a review.
Yeah. If you don't want to do it financially, we understand that's cool. Just click a button wherever you're listening to this. That does help us. Thank
Totally.
you.
Absolutely. We love it. Even a star rating.
Yeah. Even if it's 0. I mean,
don't say 0.
No, but give us your honest opinions.
At least 2.25 Jaws.
Hey, if there's something we can improve upon, I'd love to hear about it.
Spaceman got a 3.5 this week. We will settle for nothing less than that.
It wasn't that bad.
I love Spaceman.
You gave it less than 3.5.
I know.
Jackass.
We're better than Spaceman. God damn it. You're right.
That's what I'm saying.
You're right, KP.
Until next week, I'm Brian the Movie Guy.
And I'm Matt K.
And keep on jawing about the movies.